Welcome back to House Guest with me, Hailey Fennel. I'm a psychic medium, and this is the podcast that connects you to the other side. You guys are about to listen to a 2-part episode. So the first one's going to be right now, and then the next one you'll have to tune in next week. But it is with Courteney Salsbury Bechtel. Thank you so much for coming on, Courteney. She is the owner and founder of Pack Supply, which is a local Charleston-based merch company. Her items are so much fun. I have a few of her hats, and then you need to go check out all of her other things as well. You can follow her on Instagram at Pax, P-A-X Supply, or you can head straight to her website at pax-supply.com. And let's see. The conversation that we have that evolves from the reading that we get into is so much fun. And I am excited for you guys to listen to it as well. There's a lot of tips and tricks for how to connect in for yourself. So enjoy listening. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Also, if you feel so inclined to like, subscribe, and send this podcast to one of your friends. One of my goals is for as many people as possible to listen to the podcast, especially the parts where I tell you guys how to do it for yourselves. I know that not everybody is able to get a reading with me, but hopefully this is one way that people can feel just a little bit more connected to their own souls, to their guides, to their loved ones. And if you have any questions about that, feel free to reach out. Also, I'm looking for a few people for the podcast for a research project with with College of Charleston. So the research is all done through the College of Charleston, and I would love to send you more information on that. The only thing is I need to not know you at all. So if we've never met, if we're not friends of a friend, please reach out to me and I can get you on the podcast for free. And also, you'll get a reading out of it. I won't go dive into that too much, but if that piques your interest even just a little bit, or if you have a friend who you think would be interested in a reading, please send this episode to them and tell them to email me at hailey@haileyfennel.com. And last thing, I have an event March 20th with Candlefish downtown. There's still a few more spots for that. It is a group reading with me and then candle making, and I'll even help inspire how to make a candle that makes you feel even more connected to the people that I pull through that evening. So I know that you guys are going to enjoy this episode. Make sure to tune in again next week so you can hear the second half of Courteney's episode. And thank you, Courteney. Thank you so much for coming on. It's always a pleasure getting to talk with you about spirits and ghosts and work. Thank you, guys. Enjoy. Welcome back to House Guest with me, Hailey Fennel. I'm a psychic medium, and today I'm really excited to sit with Courteney. She is the creator of Pax here in Charleston. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And we're going to get all of the good stuff at the end of this, like how people can follow you, where they can find you, and all of that. But we'll start off with a reading. And I was just telling this to Courteney. I almost forgot to do the welcome back to house guest thing. I was like, oh, she's counting me in for a reason. So what I was saying was, I'm going to give you a private reading. You're going to see me close. It's not private. It's on the podcast. But you're going to see me close my eyes a lot. You're going to see me kind of doodling. And if you want to say anything in between, you just stop me and let me know. And if you came in here with any specific questions, I'll try to leave a lot of time and space for that too. Does that sound good?
Yes,
okay.
Great.
Do you have any questions for me before we jump in there?
No.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm going to close my eyes. And for this first part, you're welcome to close your eyes too if you want. You can keep them open. It works either way. It's just going to be a little breathing exercise. You can start taking a few really good deep breaths. And just start to imagine that we're meeting in a really big, wide open field. It's bright and sunny. Imagine that our souls are there, that they're starting to meet too, starting to talk without us having to use our voices. Imagine that your guides are present, coming closer and closer, and just take a few more deep breaths. And then, of course, imagine anybody and everybody you know who has passed away and is on the other side coming forward. Imagine them starting to share this space with us. Coming closer and closer. Imagine that they see, hear, and know everything, no matter how long or short it's been since their passing. Imagine the compassion they feel for you from where they are now, the love. And then just imagine them coming a little bit closer, maybe even starting to share this exact same space with us. Imagine that they're ready to share any of the messages they have here for you today, to help with clarity and direction. And then just take a few more really big, deep breaths. You can open your eyes. Okay, you're just going to see me write like a few different things down. And I might just like open and close my eyes just a little bit. Okay. All right, hold on. Oh, lovely. Okay, Courtney. So the first, I get like a few people for you actually, right away. And sometimes it happens in readings, and sometimes there's like one or two more prominent people. They're going to separate themselves out for me in a little bit because I know that some are like, we're going to talk more than others sort of thing. But I want to point out like a grandmother that's on the other side that feels really lovely and important is how she puts it. And then I want to point out someone that's like much closer in the family that feels a bit like dad or parent. Does that make sense to you? Yes. And then I think it's on dad's side, but quite possibly like an uncle or someone. Does that make sense to you? Like either dad's brother or mom's brother, something like that. Oh, yeah. Does that make sense? Yep. Okay. And then now I got to look at what I wrote down. And then I think a granddad. I think it's dad's dad on the other side. Yeah. Does all of that make sense? Yeah. Just to
spot on.
They kind of came in like all equally. And sometimes when I do that with visualization, I'll have like kind of one comes in and I kind of like acknowledge them just in my mind's eye. And I'm saying some of this stuff just for the listeners so that they know what's going on. And I know that there's some people that listen to the podcast being like, how do we do it? How do I do it? How does she do it? Sort of thing. So that's why I'm saying it all out loud. Yes. But usually when I do that visualization, I'll kind of get a staggering thing. All of these people kind of come pretty equally for me. The minute I mention dad, he comes a little bit closer. Yeah. He's like, me first. Thank you very much. Here for a reason. And it just seems like he wants to talk a lot. I also just feel grandmother there. She's very patiently waiting. She's like, he can go first. It's fine, sort of thing. Does that make sense to you? Yes. I'm going to close my eyes. Are you okay if I invite dad a little bit closer? Oh, yeah. Okay. Good. He actually just said, he goes, it was important for me actually to point out all those people. Like, I just wanted Courtney to know that there's more people there. Okay, lovely, good. And he goes, just as equally as we could all say these things. Okay, fine. That's interesting. Hold on. I'm going to explain that for a little bit. He wants me to give this message kind of to everyone. He's like, this isn't really for Courtney, but this little bit is for everybody. He's like, anybody and everybody on the other side could give these messages. Like, sometimes we pull forward these people that maybe we're like a little bit uncomfortable with. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying this is your dad, but he's just pointing this out. I was giving a reading to someone yesterday or the day before, who was a little bit uncomfortable with the person I had pulled forward. And I was like, oh, we don't have to connect in with them. We can just as easily jump to somebody else and get the messages from anybody else. Okay. Like, it's always a choice. They don't have hurt feelings on the other side. And sometimes when we're more comfortable with somebody else coming from the other side, we'll hear the messages better because we feel a little bit more relaxed. Oh. And your dad just says that to me out loud. And all he means by that is a little bit of a message for whoever's listening. But even the woman I was sitting with the other day was like, no, like, I came wanting to hear from this person. But sometimes it takes a little bit of like our perspective adjusting just enough to realize that we can hear those messages from the person that we want to hear them from, but it's going to sound sometimes so different than who they were in life. Yeah. All of that is to say for you, your dad saying, I want Courtney to recognize that I'm different here on the other side. I can understand that he was like, he calls himself an okay dad. Does that make sense to you? He's not putting himself down. He's not saying he isn't a great person. Like, I know that like you have like a lot of respect for him, but he is admitting that he wasn't like the greatest. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
And he says like, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And he, fine, there, that's what I want to go. I'm like, but I know. And he's like, you're right. I know that you are like, okay with hearing messages from him though.
Oh yeah.
And like, you have like a very good perspective that he's different on the other side.
Yeah.
He's showing me more about himself. I think he keeps pointing to the mic for me. He's like, because there's other people listening that need to hear this.
Yeah,
It's
he
just
was a
how he
teacher,
puts
so he's
it.
like, come on, I gotta teach.
I love that.
Yeah,
he's
share
like,
the message.
He's like, let's do this.
Yeah.
But he says, it's like the message for everyone out there. Like, so I've got this dad with me. I've got Courtney's dad with me, that maybe had a little bit more complications that we wouldn't be able to see on the surface. Does that make sense to you? And he's like, there's this other side of me that my family saw that I didn't show other people. And he's just saying that out loud because he wants everybody listening to know that, hey, should other people be connecting in with these same sorts of people, like hidden secrets or like a hidden personality of some sort, they really truly are coming from this new perspective from the other side with so much more compassion and understanding for who they are that they can give loving and supportive messages. Yeah. I know that you know that. Yeah. And he's just making sure that everybody else does too. I love that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, he just goes like this for me, which is change of topic.
He's like, moving on.
Yeah. He's coming a little bit closer. He just is like, I love you. Thank you for doing this. He also goes, thank you for like connecting in with me again and again and again. Like it's something that you're used to doing. It's something that you like quite possibly do on the daily. Does that make sense?
Talk to him every day. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. When we do that practice and when we just like accept that there's and like believe even deeper and trust even deeper that there's something there that we can connect with every single day, that trust deepens and therefore like the messages get deeper. Hold on. He's going to come a little bit closer. This is him like getting excited. He's like, and it just feels so good. Okay, hold on. Okay, fine. He does want to talk a little bit about his life and he just says like, do you understand? I'm sorry for breaking things up. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. Okay, hold on. I might ask you about that in a little bit if you're comfortable.
Oh yeah.
But he's going to hold on to it for just a second. Okay, hold on. That's a funny one. I'm sorry for breaking things up. Do you also understand that his love language would be him either giving you gifts or people giving him gifts?
Yeah.
It could be like both.
Yes.
We love the way we want to be loved. Yeah. I think I might have like recently heard that on Sarah Frick's podcast maybe or someone's. We love the way we want to be loved. Yeah, I think it was. Your dad just kind of confirmed that for me.
Yeah. I love that.
I had never heard that before, and I thought that's so interesting. It made me really reflect on like my love language. Yeah. I'm gonna admit right now on the podcast I've never read that book, but I think we all like understand it enough to know.
Oh, it's huge for me. My dad was like a big gift giver, and my husband isn't. That's not his love language. And it's like I'm like, well, where are my gifts?
Excuse me.
It's my birthday. Where's this?
Yes. That's hilarious.
Yes. So I've like really worked on that a lot because you also grow up under someone's love language.
Yeah. Yeah. That just hit me hard. Like, I'm like, I have a lot to think about all of a sudden. Not now. I love that. But he's like, right. So this is him giving gifts to you. Yeah. And it's a little bit of like, and I kind of want to receive him back. Like this is me. It's also his way of apologizing, like both in life and on the other side. Yeah. Now it's different on the other side, but when he drops to it in life, he's like, well, my way of like bringing the family back together or my way of like pulling Courtney back in sometimes would be to gift give. Yeah. How unfair of me is how he puts it. He's like, it's not the best or most mature way to gain someone's trust. Oh, interesting. Though he does go, gifts are great. So your partner is welcome to give you more gifts out of like a different circumstance, obviously. Yes. You did not marry your dad, right? No. So he's like, that's something separate. He can give you gifts. A little bit like a dad kind of being like, come on now.
Yes.
Protective of you in that way. But hold on. I'm going to hold on to this just for a second. He just goes, but I love you. Like, I'm so sorry that was like one of my prominent ways of showing you that.
Yeah.
He goes, but I know that you knew it. Okay, hold on. Courtney, is your sibling a brother or a sister? I'm going to get lost in that.
Sisters.
Sisters. Okay, hold on. Hold on, I'm going to be quiet for just a little bit.
But I should clarify, especially to the listeners, my dad remarried and had a son and daughter when I was like in high school. So I have a half brother and half sister.
Okay, so there are 5 total. Are there 3 of you and then 2?
There's 4 girls and then
4 girls and then 2
brother
more.
and sister. Yeah.
So 6 total. Okay, that's a lot. I love it. Hold on. I'm not sure if that's what he's talking about. I'm gonna let that go from my mind real quick. I think what he was talking about is, hold on, I'm gonna get there. I'm fine. He goes, say that out loud. He's telling me to hold on, and I'm just kind of sometimes accidentally saying that out loud. Okay, fine. Do you also understand him changing his ways at some point? Like, this is going to be funny, but like midway through parenthood, but then going back to old ways. Does that make sense to you? He's like right towards the end. He's like, I changed my ways and I'm doing so much better for so long. And maybe even quite possibly like brother and sister get like a little bit of a benefit out of that. Yeah. But then at the end, it's even like harsher and harder for everyone.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And he's like, gosh, those last few years is what I'm really here to say. I'm sorry for that. Especially, and then he shortened, that's like 2 years for some reason. Then he like kind of shortens it to like last year. Like
of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hard and harsh is how he puts it. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on. He's like, even though I had like peaks coming out of that of like trying to be better, but would very quickly fall back into it. Like very much got back into the patterns, like with even shorter time in between is how he puts it. And he's just like, and then he kind of makes fun of himself. He's like, my human soul, like, and gets like a little like
so my dad's personality
just couldn't keep up with.
Couldn't keep it together, Mark.
Yeah. Like gets a little, just like joking with himself, making fun of himself. He's like, he can see now on the other side, everything. He's like, I could see it in the moment too, but just had like such a hard time controlling it. That gives me the feelings of like, if I don't say that out loud, he's referencing for me people that I know who have suffered through like true addiction.
He's an alcoholic.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
And it's like so hard.
Yeah. He had a heart attack out of like alcoholism.
Okay.
And so it, and that's what everyone was worried that he was doing. And so like that last year and 2 years, like what he's talking about is like Caleb and Lexi were like in high school and college. And I was like 35. I think 35 or 30. Yeah. 35 or 36.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's just like, yeah. He wants me to say, he points to the mic again. He's just like, teaching moment. That's what he just said. He's like, right. So I just reminded Hailey of like, this is how she's doing it. I just reminded Hailey of all of these people, and I know multiple people that have gone through. And then I could get into it even deeper, be like, why are you reminding me of these 3 people over here and these 3 people over here? This is like some family members. This is some friends I have. Yeah. And he's like, ooh, if you really want to like know what I'm like, you could mix all these people together. And that's me, is how he puts it. And I'm just saying that out loud because anybody that's like, how do you do that? How do you like get a personality of someone on the other side? It's like you pay attention to what they're showing you.
Yeah.
And that's it. I say that like it's easy. I've practiced it a lot.
Right.
But if I were to like get in there, I'm like, it's all of a sudden it becomes more of like a feeling of a person. I'm like, I know what it's like to like be around someone like that. Or he says, more importantly, he's like to not be around it, but to see it from afar. He like gives me the view that you would have had of him at the time. That's how he puts it. Like not that you would have separated yourself from him, but that you would have been not like right by him when this was going on. So, and like no longer able to keep track of them, nor should you have, is how he puts
I
it.
have like babies.
Yeah, little babies. He's just like, and he's like, okay, hold on. Fine. He goes, so there's that.
Yeah, he was so
That's
funny.
it.
It's like whenever I'm reading that personality comes through.
Yeah.
It's so funny
Oh, I
because he
love
always
it.
like makes
Like
you
a
know,
little bit fun of
yeah,
himself.
Yeah.
It's like, it was me. Okay, hold on. That'll be good. He goes, but it would have been especially hard to see because I like came off as though I just like enjoyed life so much. That's how he puts it. He was like, I was like a happy-go-lucky guy. That's what people would have seen on the outside.
Yes.
I think basketball seems important for some reason. And does that make sense to you?
Yeah. I played basketball.
Okay. And like the kind of like if you could imagine, okay, fine. The image of like a very, what's the word for that? Okay, fine. He's like, I gave off the image of a very involved dad, like especially like at events or at like at a basketball event or at like a school event. He's like, I was quite popular.
Yeah, he was.
And he's like, so that was like all good and fine, but then there is this other side of me.
Yeah, just personal demons that like no one can know.
Yeah. And he's like, and I even hid like a lot of them from you for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And it was harder as you got older because you started to see things as we do as adult children. Like we just start to see things of our parents, right? That we're like, well, that's not right.
Yes.
And so he's like, I didn't distance myself from Courteney, but on purpose is how he puts it. But he's like, but I kind of like knew that adult children were starting to see me in ways that I didn't want them to see me. That's just how he puts it.
Yeah.
He's like, so I try to mask harder, but then the pressure is a little bit too much. For him, he does it to himself, though. Yeah. He's like, for me, on myself, it's all me. I did it.
Yeah.
But he's like, I love all of you so much.
Oh, that's so good.
To your mom, to your biological mom, because I can understand he remarried at some point. But he's like, love to mom, love to second wife.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, like watching over everybody and everything. Do you see his second wife moving on at some point quite recently and doing like something, I don't know what this means, but more elegant with her life? Does that make sense to you?
I'm really close with my stepmom. I love her so much. I hope that's true.
Yeah, I love it. He calls it elegant. I don't know what this means. Sometimes it means book, but I actually feel like it's something a little bit different. Hold on. That's funny. Okay, fine. Hold on. Oh, fine. Can you imagine like a debutante sort of feeling? It's a little bit like he points to her like that. But then it's like a little bit like just bringing that sort of, I'm going to get the word for it. He calls it ease. He's like, he doesn't necessarily want her to be debutante-like. Like, I don't, but it's like this ease of like, you know what, like life is going to kind of like carry on in this way that's meant to be sort of thing. And I know that debutante or like elegant is like a funny reference, especially for around stepmom. Yeah. But it's kind of like if you were to see, it's a little bit Aubrey Hepburn like too, just like there's like an elegance or an ease to it that there's like an energy to that. There we go. That is, he's like sending her way or helping her kind of harness in a little bit more. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. He just, when I said Aubrey Hepburn, he wants me to say this part out loud, and he goes like, hit the nail on the head. Like, as though that's what he was trying to get me to say about her for whatever reason. And you do not have to check on that with your stepmom by any means. But at some point it might, you're like, no, I will. Or will be asking. But at some point it just might click at the right time. Do you have any questions around
that? I don't. I don't think so.
Okay. Do you have any questions for him?
I don't really think I do. I love it that's crazy. I wonder how your readings are. It's like, I love for it to come through whatever he wants to say. Yeah. I mean, I feel him with me and the kids so much. Mm-hmm. So that's great, and I feel still really close to him because of that.
Do you already have a sign symbol for him? Like something that you see that you're like, gosh, every time I see that or hear that or feel that.
Yes. Yeah. My sisters and I will find coins like everywhere in the craziest ways. And I think that those are coming from him. we find like pennies all the time, and they're funny. Like, we'll laugh about them and send them to each other. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's specific.
No, I love that one. Somebody else on the podcast, this was like a really long time ago. I think it was Kate Rollins, had hers is like pennies, or something came through in the reading about pennies. This is fine. I'll say that. This is, I forget my readings. Like I just don't remember them. Like It's just, one is like too much, and two, it's like a different part of my brain is talking. And so there's like, it's just kind of like dreamlike. It's like waking up from a dream and you're like, oh shoot, like I just had a dream. I was just about to tell my partner about it. Now I can't remember what it was. Sort of feeling. It feels like that for the most part. And then every once in a while they're like, it just comes back. Like they'll remind me of a reading. So something about pennies came through in Kate Rollins' reading. Your dad reminds me of it really quickly. And in the reading, I think I mentioned this. Hold on. He's like, yeah, well, I show them pennies because I'm like Honest Abe. Is that how he puts it? I think it's Abraham Lincoln that's on the penny. And he just kind of jokes. Like, he's like, well, that's me. I'm just Honest Abe. But like means it as like, but I'm not.
Yeah.
But as like, that's who I am on the other side. Like I'm honest and I'm true to myself and I'm very, very genuine.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah. Like all the best parts of his personality in life is like who he is on the other side. And I know you feel that. But I like pennies. I like coins. I've heard that's a fun one.
Yeah. And we find them like the craziest places. Like my sister had her daughter early and went to like put the car seat in the car, and she was like, oh my God, there's a penny in the back seat, and it's like no one has cash and change anymore. So when they appear, you're like, what? How do I have pennies? But we find them everywhere, and I find them like on the ground or in different places. And sometimes I look at the year, because my dad was like obsessed with the 70s. Like that's when he was in college and all that. And a lot of times they're from the 70s.
Yeah, that is cool. That's so true. It's like even more rare now, right? To be like, where's cash coming from?
I know. That's why I want to find it. Or my kids give them to me. And I just am like, it makes my heart melt, when they find one and give it to me.
Yeah.
So I do think that's my sign with him.
Yeah. And I love the 70s reference too, like something that makes it even a little bit more specific, especially for those moments where you're like, is this another penny from him? And then it's from the 70s. You're like, yeah, this is another penny from him.
I love that.
Cool. Do you have any other questions for him? I know I already asked you that, but just in case. He's here. He's not going anywhere. Okay. But do you?
I'm like, when we get to like, I have some like questions for you about what to do career-wise. And then I'm like, well, should my dad weigh in on that?
Yeah, he can. What I'm going to do is, career is like one of my most favorite things to talk about, especially in readings. But hold on. Okay, so I've got uncle here. Oh, yeah. And then I've got grandfather. And then I also have grandmother, who I think is the grandmother on mom's side. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, very close to my mom's one.
Is there, out of those, I feel grandmother very much here, but we can also keep connecting with dad's side real quick if you want.
Yeah. What's funny is my mom's brother passed away this summer. Okay. And when you said uncle, I was like, like, oh, yeah. Like, that'd be my Uncle Lee, my mom's brother. And my dad and my Uncle Lee were close. Yeah. So it would be, I like that. I could see how you're like, are they brothers?
No, yeah. And well, so sometimes what happens in a reading, like, especially if I've pulled dad over here and grandmother keeps hanging out over here, because what she's showing me is like, this is this grandmother, not this grandmother. Sometimes I'll just start to hold men over here too. Like, it's just like, I'm going to keep this energy here and this energy here. And then there's like all the in between too. They'll like do something on purpose there. But yeah, you got your uncle kind of hanging out with your dad, which I like, even though he's mom's brother.
Totally.
And if anyone's watching, like, are we doing YouTube for this one? Okay. If anyone's watching like the YouTube channel, you just saw me do this funny thing where I was like, I'm moving you. I just moved him over here.
I saw that too. Yeah.
Just to help me. And it's like literally something I'm doing. They're not doing it. Well, fine. I'll take that back. They do something like that on purpose. And it's probably because what you just said, it's like, there's like a closeness somewhere in there. All right. So are you okay if I connect in with Uncle?
Oh yeah.
Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode with Courteney from Pack Supply. Thank you so much for coming on, and stay tuned because part 2 is coming next week and it is just that much better. It's more of a conversation. We get even more into it. Courteney is one of my favorite people to talk to about things like this, and you guys are going to see why. So please subscribe, share with a friend, and reach out to me at Hailey@HaileyFennell.com if you have any questions about the research project or coming on for something else for your business that you want to promote, anything like that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it.